Okay. We're here with Corey Cardinal.
Yeah, hello, how's it going?
It's going. It's better now that we're talking. We are shit talking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
part two, the revenge.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you an update and a revelation of what happened here. Um, I'm back on the unit. I'm back on the unit, the overcrowded unit. When I first started noticing all the vulnerabilities, the overcrowding issues, um, the all the factors of vulnerabilities that existed here with 30 inmates in this dorm. And when I first started to appeal to Christine Tell, warning her about about all these factors here on this unit.
Yeah.
This was like a week before November 17th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was the outbreak. And so we basically predicted what was going to happen, And so then I got moved to Echo, and then a week later, sure enough, the outbreak was declared. And this is this unit I'm on is ground zero
Yeah.
of the infection. This is where it originated. I'm sure of it. Every other inmate here told me that this was the unit that first started getting sick.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing from all the other every inmate in here, it's corroborating stories about how the correctional dealt with the infection and how they lied to the inmates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how they lied to the public.
Yeah.
About what was going on. How they said in the public that to Star Phoenix that the inmates were provided with medical attention, that they're getting adequate mental health attention,
Yeah.
that they had access to a doctor,
Yeah.
that they were just having mild symptoms, how
Yeah.
the number of inmates infected.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying in the media, and from all the evidence here that the inmates provided, all their stories are similar. Was that everything that they said in the media was lies?
Yeah.
Was lies. They
Yeah.
downplayed it. They edited it.
Yeah.
They told the public that the inmates had all these medical attention when they didn't. Every inmate in here has confirmed that they were trying to access medical attention. Every single inmate in here got sick.
Yeah.
All of them, including old men. People with HIV, they got sick.
Yeah.
And the guards just shut the door on them and fed them through a food slot.
Yeah.
There was no access to any mental health. There's numerous inmates that were trying to access a doctor because they didn't just have mild symptoms.
No.
A headache, a runny nose. The inmates here had serious symptoms.
Like difficulty breathing and.
There was an inmate here that had fluid in his lungs and he was waking up, panicking, trying to get there, talk to a doctor. And the interim team leader here, her name is Kelly Yax, was minimizing the infection, telling she wasn't even coming on the unit. She was talking to a food slot, telling these inmates that you'll see a doctor. There's no doctor right now, but you can access him through a phone. There wasn't even a doctor available throughout the whole infection, the outbreak in Saskatoon Correctional Center. The resident doctor wasn't even coming in. He refused to come in.
Yeah.
And they lied to the inmates saying that you're just go and lay down. Oh, they're just mild symptoms.
Yeah.
And none of these inmates even seen a doctor, and they're still waiting. They haven't even seen a doctor. They haven't even had any questions answered about the seriousness of their symptoms.
Yeah.
I guess a public health inspector even came to see the living conditions and was held at the door from talking to the inmates by the interim team leader, Kelly Yance.
Yeah.
She prevented the public health inspector from talking to the inmates and from doing a proper inspection of the living conditions in this overcrowded dorm and the level of suffering on this unit. They didn't even get a chance to voice their concerns, and they still haven't. They're still waiting for answers.
No, it's and the media has just been complicit in this, and it's a cover up because, you know, like you say, we've had the evidence for mounting. So
for sure, yeah. All the stories that I'm being told here, how they were treated here would support a diagnosis of torture.
Yeah.
Of torture, yes, under the United Nations minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners.
Yeah.
Which is an instrument adopted by the United Nations as guidelines for the prevention of torture.
Yeah.
All the corroborating stories give support to a diagnosis of systemic torture.
Yeah.
Access to medical. They were denied access to medical.
Yeah.
They were denied any kind of mental health. There's no mental health worker that works in the Saskatoon Correctional.
No.
There's none, not at all. There's access to nurses who are biased because they take their discretion from the staff.
Right.
There's nurses here that have dual training for correctional applied sciences, as well as health. They're what do you call their training as nurses?
Yeah.
Registered nurses. So the nurses here are biased. The nursing managers here takes direction from the correctional, and all their requests for medical attention was suppressed.
Yeah.
By the staff in the office. They just shut the door and let the inmates suffer. There was inmates bedridden here with serious infections. The guards came out in their full PPE to do their checks, and they were making the inmates get up and stand up for count.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed, they weren't even given masks until after the infection.
Yeah.
After the infection, after everybody got sick, there was even inmates here that tested negative. There was, I think, a round of testing, and then only 3 came back negative, and they were left here.
Yeah.
And then we tested a week later,
Yeah.
and then they tested positive. And then, furthermore, they were, the correctional was moving people around other parts of the jail, moving people around while there was a prevalent infection.
Yeah, active virus infection.
Active virus cases, yes. They were moving up to other parts of the jail. And so if, the public out there wants answers, wants to know what happened, why there was such a spike in infections in the correctional, there's your answer.
Yeah.
It's because of their poor enforcement of policies, of their the flaws in the correctional, of the staff not dismissive of the seriousness of the outbreak, and just using their dominant professionalism, their dominant training to dismiss the inmates' concerns, and they were moving inmates to other parts of the jail, which exacerbated the outbreak.
Yeah.
So there was multiple accounts here from these inmates that tell me that they were moving sick inmates around and moving other inmates in here and infecting those inmates.
Yeah.
So they were helping the infection. They were helping helping the outbreak grow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why Christine Tell, when they asked her, well, why did this happen? She said she wasn't going to look into it. You know?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, she needs to know that what happened here. Like, she can't be so attached from the ground, from the level of her common staff that even got sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even her staff got sick. They were forced to work in an atmosphere of fear and infection that was prevalent. And these inmates are even telling me the staff were even getting sick coming on doing checks. And this unit is still overcrowded. It's not like nothing. They did something about it. They didn't even do nothing about it.
No, and then
Sorry, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's still overcrowded here.
Yeah.
Still very little being done, and there's still like inmates getting moved here and there.
Yeah.
It's messed up here. It really is.
No, it's. You were saying too in the earlier call that there was some kind of spray used for a disinfectant. For
sure. So part of they hired an outside contractor to come and spray.
Yeah.
Fogging, it's called, with an induced chemical
mm-hmm.
That killed bacteria. And what they were doing was just spraying the whole area down. They were spraying everywhere, the tables. It didn't even matter if there was inmates around. So they just came and sprayed all these inmates. They were spraying people that were sleeping, and my friend over here was sleeping while they just went and sprayed him down. It's like they were using that as like an inmate repellent. It's like they were using that spray.
Like an insecticide.
Yes, like an insecticide.
Mm-hmm.
Very good analogy.
Thank you.
You know?
It's It's like what they did that to the, like we were saying, they did that to the Jews, they do that to the Afghans, they do that in Gitmo, in all those horrible torture prisons. Like, that's where you're this is torture. Yeah.
For sure. I'm surprised they didn't just line up all the inmates and just spray them down, you know?
Yeah. Like the 50s.
Yeah, you know, like on the Alcatraz movie and all those other jail movies where they just like throw powder on the inmates, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically, from what these inmates are telling me, you know. And my friend here got he was coughing up blood, and he was trying to go and see the nurse and tell him, like, because he was having infections. He was having serious symptoms from the COVID.
Yeah.
And he had fluid in his lungs. He was complaining, and he was coughing up blood, like, literally.
Yeah.
And he went to go try to tell the staff through a food slot. They just opened a food slot.
Yeah.
And they just downplayed it. They said, "Oh, well, you just go and have a nap, go lay down, you know, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Only 2 weeks, you'll get over it."
Right.
You know?
No, I know. Sometimes I don't know what year I'm living in. Like, I feel like, is it 1855? You know what I mean? Is it 1890? Like, that's how it feels. It feels like this colonial dominator style that's been happening for so long. And to a lot of people, it's very hidden and it's very normalized. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
The public is given an edited version.
Yeah.
Is given a very edited version of what goes on in here, and they downplay it. They just like in the newspaper, the Star Phoenix,
mm-hmm.
how they were just the media liaison to the ministry was discrediting our collective protest from the inmates, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It's a protest. It wasn't, they were calling it a hunger, or they were calling it a tray refusal.
Yeah, yeah. They were
saying that, it's a tray refusal, and they still have access to their canteen. They're still eating.
Yeah.
You know? That's just an example of campaign a colonial mindset to discredit, to minimize,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
identities of us, you know, and discredit us. You know, like what it was they're totally trying to trying to discredit what we accomplished.
Yeah.
I wanted to prove to the public that we were capable of, the inmates in here at any given time were capable, young, bright Aboriginal men that were capable of a protest, of doing things in a respectful way.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was a protest.
Yeah.
And they're saying that, they had access to the canteen. The whole concept of it was to deny, to refuse the food provided by the ministry.
Yeah.
And not the canteen, which is paid for by the inmate.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, the revolution will not be televised.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It'll be televised here for me, but like, yeah, the media is totally complicit in enabling the colonial dominator narrative to flow through the airwaves, and continue to harm you guys, and continue to harm like everybody who's part of the underclass. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The majority of inmates in here come from a marginalized, vulnerable class of society, and with little to no skills, no education, no means to fight back.
No.
Against a dominant social class, to opposing a dominant social class with dominant professional training and skills, that's rooted in prejudiced values.
Yeah.
Prejudiced voter base that elects a biased government.
Yeah.
With a colonial mindset.
Yeah.
With colonial policies.
Yeah.
That perpetuates colonial policies for over 150 years, used to suppress the common Aboriginal inmate into a scenario of anguish and suffering, helplessness.
Yeah. And it's true. It's like, it's so cyclical. It's like a generationally learned, way of interacting in society. Like, it's very ingrained indeed. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And what what happens is old colonial policies are reinvented into new legislation and applied despite the institution.
Yeah.
They reinvent colonial policies.
Yeah.
And rename them into other things and apply them on a marginalized social class.
Yeah.
With colonial structure, like as a colonial structure.
Yeah.
As a structure that gives rise to systemic oppression.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's systemic oppression. It's systemic torture. Don't matter what they call it in the media, what kind of edited name they call it.
Yeah. No,
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
1 minute, Corey. No.
Yeah. Well.
I love this episode of Shit Talking here with you, Corey, and I'm glad you can get people to pipe up, because it's important. It's important. It's critical.
It is. It's important that the public listen, can understand the non-edited version of the real people that know exactly what it means to be tortured and know what a ketchup sandwich tastes like.
Yes.
What a watered-down peanut butter sandwich tastes like, provided by a privatized company in a cost-effective way to feed the starving inmates.
Yeah. No, it's...
All right, well, thank you. Okay.
Well, thanks, Corey. We look forward to hearing from you again, and if you could apologize to that other fellow and tell him maybe he could call again, too.
Okay, I will.
Okay, bye.